Hey everyone, today we're going to build a project management tool and we are going to use AI and no code to build the platform. So basically, we are going to start from scratch. We are going to ask the Jestor builder to create our first version of a project management tool. And afterwards, we are going to customize it with fields that we want, change colors, add Kanbans, Gantt, and also changing how you fill out information with forms and also in the navigation for your tool. So we are going to start from a prompt asking gesture builder, and we are going to change it after that. So if you have any requests, questions, just ask. We can build this. This is a live session. That's the idea. We can change uh, change or customize in a way that's easier or best for you, especially if you're thinking to build a custom management tool for your company. Cruz, do you have anything to add, or can we start building?
No, we can start building. Like Banat said, the idea here we're going to start with a prompt. So the AI builder is going to give us a first version to work with, and then we can just start editing. So if you can share my screen, I think I can just click here. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So the idea here is to start with the AI builder, and you can do that by clicking here on this button. You could do this through the action bar as well, but I like to go here because it's a little bit easier and because it gives us this larger panel to work with. So the idea here is that all I have to do is describe what I want for this app. I could also provide a flowchart or images or a spreadsheet, but in this case, we're going to start simple. So all I have to do is provide a description, right? So what we're going to do here is ask for the AI to build a project management tool. Um, it should be a Kanban board with the stages planned, in progress, and done. And I think we can leave it at that for now. And I'm just going to add to use a side menu for navigation. So we can kind of force the AI to use a specific type of navigation. In this case, I'm going with a side menu. So that's it. I could provide more details if I wanted to. It would provide me with a more specific app, with a more finalized app. But I think part of the idea here is to also show how to keep building further with the non-AI tools, right? So in this case, we're going to keep it simple, and that's all that I'm going to ask for the AI to build. A quick reminder that we always say that, but you can ask for the AI to build a process to build an app, and then you can just leave it here, minimize, and you can keep using your account, right? You could keep uh, working, could keep doing other processes, and when the AI stops building, it's going to provide you with a link so you can go back to it. You don't have to wait for the AI to build everything. In this case, it was very quick, so we can just click here on Open App. And this is the app that the AI built for us. So there's a dashboard, there's a Kanban board, and it created a task management tool as well, right? So one thing that the AI did here, let's look at the folder itself that it created for us. I kind of have the impression that the AI built the projects and created connected tasks as a separate table, which is actually kind of an interesting idea. But I'm not going to use this. I'm probably going to use the standard task feature of Jestor. So let's just do one thing. So Let's open here. I just called it tasks, right? So the Kanban board is seeing the same information as this table here. So no problem here. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to activate the building mode, and I'm going to change the name. Just there you go. I'm going to change the name of this table to projects, and I'm going to just add live stream so it's a little bit easier to find this later on when I need it. So let's examine what the AI built for us, right? So it created a title field, which is standard, and I'm going to name this project name instead of task name. It has a description field, which is a rich text field, so you can format things, you can create bullet points, and so on. It created a field for stages, so this is being used for the Kanban board here. So you can see that the columns in the Kanban board are the same as the options in the stage. And it has created a priority as well, low, medium, high. It has a due date, and it has attachments. Okay, so that's a good place to start with. So what I'm going to do here is just think about the things that I want in my project, right? So I want the project name, I want the description, I want the stage, I want priority. But one thing that I'm going to add later is that I also want to be able to see the project as a Gantt chart, right? I want to see when the project starts and when it ends, right? So one thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this due date field. I could rename it, but I'm just going to remove it. And I'm going to create new date fields as a start date. And I can select the date format as well. And an end date. Cool. So because I want to see this as a Gantt chart, I also have to create a date range field, which is basically a mirror of these two other fields, right? So I'm
Especially
going
because
to
the Gantt field always needs a start and an end. Otherwise, you don't have the bar. You'll have a point on your Gantt. And that's
exactly.
why we have this field. Also, this field is useful if you don't want to use the Gantt, because you can select start and end from the field.
Exactly. So you guys can see here that I have start and end date, which are these standard fields here. But I have the date range, which basically allows me to select the range in one setting here, and it reflects here. If I do the opposite, if I do here start date and end date here, it's also going to populate this field. So you can see that this date range field is nothing more than a mirror for the other two fields, but it's necessary for the Gantt chart, right? So this is why we created it. One other thing that I want to have as well is that you see that we have this Kanban board here. And one thing that I want to have here on the cover of the card, on this front facing part of the card, is the number of tasks that I have in this card, and also the number of comments that I have in this project. So I'm going to create a tasks field, which is going to mirror the number of tasks that I have for that project and how many were already completed. And I'm also going to create a chat field, which is also a mirror for the number of comments inside that card. And also not only the number of comments that I have in the card, but also the number of times that I was mentioned as well. Okay, cool. So this is kind of the structure that I wanted. So one thing that I'm going to do here, I'm just going to change the colors of the stages. I want something a little bit more subdued. It's a little bit too bright for me. So I'm going to change the colors. And for done, it's going to be very light green here. There you go. And for the priority, I'm doing the same thing here. So low is green, medium is kind of this one, and the last one is high. Cool. There you go. Okay, cool. So that's already kind of the structure that I want for this project management tool. We can create more fields later. We have more types of fields here. So we could have tags, we could have email, phone number. One thing that I want here actually is a field for owners, so people who are responsible for this project. Okay, so this is the structure that I want, right? So I'm going to go back to the app now, and I'm going to start customizing it. So one thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the background and the colors here. By default, the AI is going to build dark mode apps, but I'm going to go with a light mode here so I can change the colors, right?
Yeah, I
And I'm
will do
also,
this style even before we continue building, like change all the colors and everything, just
yeah,
because it's
exactly.
easier to visualize what we want to build.
Exactly. So I'm going to change all the colors first, and I'm also going to disable scrolling in this page, so it doesn't matter the size of the screen. All the app is going to look the same in any situation, right? So I'm going to do this for this one, for this Kanban board as well. So I'm going to customize this to a light gray and disable the scrolling. But one other thing that I'm going to do, I'm already going to add the color here. So this is going to be white. There you go. And now I'm going to go to this one. And this one, actually, I'm not going to use. I'm going to use because I'm going to use the Gantt chart. So we can start customizing this. So all I'm doing now is changing colors, right? We're going to start building the app itself in a minute, but it's a little bit easier to work with if we already do the colors, right? So for this one, I'm going to go with this teal, right? Oops. There you go. Okay, so let's go back to the app and final round of colors here. I'm going to remove the favorites here. And I'm also going to add folders here to separate between the app pages and the database. There you go. So basically now I have all that I need. And you can see that we have kind of a light mode version of the app. So one thing that I'm going to do, I think that it makes sense that the main part of the app is actually the Kanban board. So instead of switching those around, because I haven't really built anything yet, I'm just going to change the names here, project board. And then the Kanban board is going to be the dashboard here. And I'm going to delete this Kanban board here. Okay, there you go. So now I'm going to create the Kanban board from scratch, just so you guys can see how it works. Okay, so now In this part, I want a Kanban board, so I'm just going to click here on Smart Kanban, and it's going to create an example of a Kanban board here. So I'm just going to rename it as Kanban, and it's already picking up the correct table, right? Projects live stream, which is this one. But one thing that it did automatically is that it took the columns as the priorities, and I don't want that, so I'm just going to switch to stage. And now in this bottom part here, I can select the fields of information that I want in the cover, in the front facing part of the card here. So what I'm going to do is remove the ones that we have here, and I'm going to add priority, so I can see the priority of the project on the cover of the card. The description I can add here as well. I can select the date range, but we don't have any dates here, but I can leave it here. And like I said, I want to see tasks and chat if I have any information, if I have any tasks, or if I have any comments on the project itself here. And I also want to see the owner of the project. So I can rearrange this. So some of those fields we're not seeing yet because these projects don't have any owner, don't have any date range yet. Here you go. Some of them have, so you can see here. But I think this already looks nice in terms of the order. Maybe, yeah, maybe this looks better. Okay, we can change this later. So one thing that I'm also going to change here is that I don't want the cards in the Kanban board to be black. I don't want them to be dark, so I'm just going to change the color here as well. There you go. So now I'm just going to rearrange it. And we have some other settings here. So one thing that you guys can see here is that I can toggle some settings of the Kanban board. So for example, I don't want people to be able to create cards already in done. So I'm going to disable this. We're going to have a dedicated button to creating new projects, right? And I can also change the size of the card here. But in this case, the medium-sized card feels right. It feels like it displays the correct size of information here. And I'm going to use the forms that we're going to set in the tables themselves, right? So here you go.
I would also I would show them. You can save it. Just I would show them. You can close the camera editing and just save everything. Show them how to create a new stage there and create like a archived stage. Sometimes people say like, can I archive a card or anything? Of course you can. You can create a stage, and you can even create a stage that it's hidden. But in this case, like, you can create a archive stage that's just there. If you are not going to do that anymore, or instead of deleting it, you just change the status to archive.
Exactly. So you guys can see that we have the option here on the screen on this right side part. But I could also click here on the three dots and click on here, create new stage. So I'm going to create a new stage here, archived. I'm going to edit, and we have this field for archived.
And you can remove the uncategorized there straight from the Canva as well.
Exactly. So there you go. You guys can see that. So I have removed the button to create the cards directly in the stages because I don't want people to do that. I want every time I create a new project it to go to planned. So what I'm going to do is add a button here to the title bar to create a new card, a new record in my projects table here. And I'm going to call this new project. And for the form that's going to pop up so we can fill in with the information from the project, I'm going to use the form from the table itself. I'm just going to inherit it, and I'm going to show you guys what this means in a minute. So there you go. Can create here a new project. And you guys can see that when I click on new project, I can put in all the information from the Kanban, from this table. But one thing that's happening here is that I'm using kind of like the standard form here, right? So it's not customized. The form is called project livestream creation form. So all of this is customizable. And where can I customize this? We can go here to the table, activate the building mode, and change the form. So I'm going to change the form for creating a new record. So I just click on edit record creation form. And we can do a few things here. First of all, I can choose how this form appears. So I can change it from appearing as a window in the middle of the screen, for example, to a right side panel. So when I click here on save, if I go here now and click on new project, it opens as a side panel, for example. And now we can keep customizing it. So let's go back to the table, click on form, and I'm going to edit the record creation form. So I'm going to edit the form itself. And the first thing that I'm going to do is change the title of the form. So I'm just going to call this new project. And I'm going to give it a description of use this form to create a new project. I could also add a logo or a cover. I'm not going to do that. Those are images that would appear on the form. But what I'm more interested in now is what kind of information I can put here, right? So right now, the form has the project name, the description, the stage, the priority, and the attachments, because this is what the AI had created when it first created the app, right? But I have created more fields here. So I can just click here on add existing fields, and I can do something like add the date range, for example, or the start and end date here. So let's add the date range. And I can also add the owner's field. Okay, so these are the fields of information that the person creating a new project will have to fill. So if I click here on new row, you can see that it looks like this. And just one thing that I want to show you guys is that for the stage, it's a drop-down menu, right? It's a standard way of seeing this information. For priority, the same thing. And I can actually change the appearance of this information, right? So let's go to stage, and I'm going to change this to button-like. And for priority is going to be standard horizontal. So I'm going to save this just to show you guys. So now this is the new way of seeing things. So stage I have here as buttons, and priority looks more like a tag here, right? So it kind of makes more sense to me to see things in this way, right? So let's keep editing this. Now we have some more aesthetic settings that we can get into. First of all, actually, first things first, like I said, I don't want people to be able to create something done or archived. I want for things to always go to planned, right? So I can edit the stage field here, and I can give it a predefined value of planned. So when I start creating a project, this field is already going to have a pre-assigned value of planned. and then I can hide this field. So people cannot change this value. So every time I create a new project, it's going to go straight to plan, right? And okay, now I can just leave this field here. One other thing that I can do here is use blocks. Blocks are things that are not fields of information in the form. They're usually static settings, static functions, or like usability functions. What I mean by this is, for example, I can create a section here, and this section is going to condense fields into a specific part with a title, right? So, for example, I can create a main info part here. If I go directly in the fields, I can do things like add description and, for example, give this project a brief description, and I can make this field required, right? So people cannot create a project without a name, right? For priority, I can make it required as well. I can leave priority up there on the top, and I can just start rearranging stuff like there you go. Owners here. There you go. So I'm going to click here on save. We haven't finished yet, but just to show you guys what's going on, you can see here that I have that part as main info. You can see that project name is required, is obligatory, and I have the description here. So you can kind of play around with the settings in the fields themselves and the blocks as well, right? So let's finish this by adding colors. So the background color is going to be white, and the button color and the title color are going to be the same teal color that I had selected before. One other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to disable responses. This is basically a setting that sends you a copy of the information when you send a form, right? I don't want the copy of the information, so I'm just going to leave this as off. So there you go. When I try to create a new project, this is how the form looks like. So this is a major improvement over the other one, right? The standard panel is usable. It works just as intended, but this gives it a little bit more personality, and it's a little bit more pleasant to look at and to use, right? So I'm going to do now the same thing for the update form. What's an update form? It's when I open the record, right? When I open the card. So you can see here that this is still the standard form, right? And also I can select what kind of tools I should have access to in this process. So I'm going to edit this as well. So I'm going to go here to forms, edit table, update form. And first of all, I can select the tools that I want. So email, it doesn't make sense to have it in this process. So I'm going to remove it. I'm going to remove connected records. And what I'm going to leave here is chat, which is basically commenting on the project. I'm going to leave tasks, and I'm going to leave SLA. So it's a triple window. Okay. And now I'm going to customize the form, and I'm going to do almost exactly the same thing that I did for the creation form, with the exception that for the title, I'm just going to pull the title of the record itself, right? So when I open a record, instead of having this title here, I'm going to pull this information and place it up top, right? So I can just basically get the same information that I had before. So I can create a section here. There you go. I'm going to pull the priority here up top and show this as tags. I'm going to pull this up here. So I'm just rearranging stuff, right? And I'm going to leave the stage as buttons, but I'm not going to hide it this time. So now I want to be able to see the stages, right? There you go. So I'm going to disable the forms responses, and just change the colors, and this is done now. There you go. So there you go. And when I open a project, now I have this appearance here for the card, so it looks a lot better, right? And because I had set this Kanban board to inherit the forms from the tables, you can see that when I click here on new project, it brings out this form that I just set up. And when I click here on this card, it's bringing that form that I had just set up for as an update form as well, right? So this is already looking nice. I'm going to create a new project just to show you guys how it works. So project, I'm going to go with new logo. So design a new logo for our client. I'm going to select the date range here, right? And I'm also going to assign myself as an owner and a priority. So this is medium priority, right? So I'm going to save this. There you go. So now, as you can see, because I have a date range and I have an owner, they appear on the cover of the card. If you think this is too much information, you can remove this as well. I just put this here so you guys can see how it works, right?
And usually we leave the chat there just as an like a metric. If there's a lot of conversation on that project, it's because it's an important project or it's a project that's something bad probably happened. So it's a way to see like how much are people discussing about it. If it's like few people talking about it, probably it's not that important or it's just doing well. So it's a good way to just see if something happened. Like if you usually have 10 comments and then there's one that has like 200, probably there was some kind of discussion that you should just take a look.
Exactly. So as you guys can see, I sent a message here just to show you guys that in a little while this is going to update, and then you will be able to see how many comments and how many reactions and how many maintenance you have inside a card, right? The same thing for the tasks, right? I'm going to create a task here. So this is a project for a new logo. So one of the tasks is studying the company history, so you can better understand the company and design a better logo. So I can put a priority here, and I also can define deadlines and to-dos, which are basically subtasks, right? So for example, subtask 1 and subtask 2, and I can already leave it as marked, right? So there you go. So you guys can see that I have the main part of the project here. I have the main information. I have the chat, so we can send comments here and we can create threads. This is actually a full-fledged chat function, kind of like Slack or Microsoft Teams. This is not just comments on a card. This is integrated into Jestor's main chat feature, right? And we also have the tasks here, which is also integrated with Jestor's main task feature. So we can open the card and see this task, but I can also go to tasks here and see all the tasks that I have pending, right? So here is studying the company history is also a task that I have here. And now you guys can see this on the cover, on the front-facing part of the card in the Kanban board. I have one comment and I have one task that I have not yet finished, right? Cool. So this is coming along quite nicely. One thing that I want to show you guys as well is that you can color the cards manually as well. So if one project you want to see something, I can just add a color to it. So I can select some colors here. So I can color this manually. And also we can do conditional colors as well for the Kanban board. So maybe I want to, all the projects that I'm the owner, I want to see them as like slightly highlighted, we can do this as well. So we can go back, go down here to conditional colors, add a condition. So for example, I'm going to go with a like very faint gold, maybe. There you go. And the condition here is that we're going to paint the colors where owner contains the logged user, in this case myself, right? So if I'm looking at this color, I'm the owner, so you can see that it's highlighted. But if Bruno was looking at the same app, he would only see the cards he's the owner of as highlighted. So you can do, for example, conditional colors, right? So this part of the Kanban board looks already pretty nice, but one thing that we're missing here is having filters, right? So we want to be able to filter information rapidly, and we can do this by creating a search filter. So we're going to create this component here. We're going to call this custom filter. This name doesn't matter because it's only internal, right? But the filters that we create, the name does matter. So the first filter that we're going to create is a flexible filter, which is basically just like a generic filter, kind of like you have in the table itself, right? So what this means is I'm going to create a flexible filter based on the project's table, right? And when I use this filter, I'm going to filter the Kanban board. So just to show you guys what this means, I created the filter. It's down here. I'm going to pull this up to the title bar. You can do this by clicking here on edit, and selecting the filter that I've just created. So it's up here now. So one thing that was also created was the search bar. So I can just type in here, for example, new logo, and it's going to search this information on the cards. But now I can also use the filter. And for example, I can see only things that are high priority, for example. So I can do this with this filter. But sometimes there are some filters that you always use them a lot, and you don't want to go through all the steps of setting up this filter here. So you can leave them pre-built in this filter here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to edit this, and we're going to add a new filter for example, owner. So we're going to use a user filter. And when I select a user, I want to filter the Kanban board by the owner's field. So we can save this. And now, for example, I can click here and I only want to see projects where I'm the owner. Then I select this and it's going to filter the information here. So there you go. And we could keep building more and more filters, right? I'm going to leave it at this, but you can have date filters, you can have like priority filters. It makes sense to have filters that you use a lot of the time pre-built into the board, right? And one last thing that I'm going to do here is just add an icon here, right, to the project board, so the menu looks a little bit nicer. So I'm going to add a color, and I'm going to use an icon here for the Kanban board. I'm going to use this one. So you guys can see that it's appearing right in this menu, right? And one last thing, I'm going to change.
Also add to this project board later on. You can add a top bar, and then have the table as well. In the table, for example, could be like read only or something, just to show them that they can just have like views. So it's the same information on different views, instead of having like for example, on the left we have projects, dashboard, and tasks. So if you want to create other stuff about projects, then you create like a view or a top bar navigation. That's a way for you to just create some kind of a hierarchy inside your app. So here on the left is like everything regarding dashboards is it's there. So you can have dashboard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. Everything regarding tasks is going to be on the third one, and then you have different views. And then on the project board, the same thing, but then you can have like a table, or I don't know, maybe you have other suggestions, but just to show them that they can create something that's just like a view, because people usually are used to see something like a table and then a Kanban as a view, or a Kanban and then as a table as a view, or other lists and stuff as views. So that's one way to do this, to replicate this behavior here, if that makes sense for your process.
Yeah, so we can do this already. So this app I was going to use for the Gantt chart, right? So we can just repurpose this to show you guys what Banak is talking about. So instead of having it on this side menu, we're going to have it here up top as kind of a view of the project, right? So I'm going to activate building mode,
No,
and I'm going to
maybe I would just do a table just because this is big. Okay, it could be
yeah,
like an
sure,
event view as well.
no problem. I'm going to create a new.
Because one thing that we could do is like, for example, on the project board, I don't need to see the done column. So once it's done, you can see this on a table that has like all projects, like an archive of projects. And then you only see projects that you are actually working on the project board.
Yeah, sure. So projects history. I'm going to create a new app page called projects history. There you go. So we're going to just customize the colors here. There you go. Disable. And now what I'm going to do is just add a table component. And for example, I can pull this table here and pull information from the projects table. So I'm going to call this table finish projects. And then I can select the information that I want to see in this table. Like, for example, the name, description, stage, priority, attachments. So I can just keep pulling the information that I want in this one. But now, one thing that I'm going to do here is I'm only going to show, so I'm going to add a filter here, right, for projects that have stage equals to done. So there you go. And one other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove these icons here up top. There we go.
Remove the
And
grid line as well, maybe. And I would just increase the row height just to show them because of the description.
yeah, so we can make this a little bit larger, for example. So now I can see all the information. And one thing that I'm going to do this here is just make this a read-only table, so we cannot change projects that are done here, right? And I'm going to let people download the information from this table. So now we have this icon here, download data. If I toggle this off, I cannot download the data. And if I toggle this on, I can export a spreadsheet with this information, right?
Show also how to freeze like the first two, for example. First two columns.
Okay. So we don't have much information here, but I can simulate this. You can where did you go?
Columns there.
Yeah, there you go. You can choose the number of columns that are frozen. So for example, let's select 2 here. This means that these 2 columns, the first 2 columns, are going to appear on this table regardless of screen size of where you are and such. So if we click here on save, and now I'm going to simulate having a smaller table. There you go. So now you guys can see that even if I go to the left or to the right, the first two columns are not moving, right? So this is a frozen column, and I selected that project name and description. The first two columns are frozen here. So let's bring this table to full size here. And now we can go back here to the app itself, and I'm going to add a top menu, a top bar. Here you go. And why did we add this? Because like like Bonak said, we can now get that app that we have just built, right? And now we can cycle between them. So I now have the Kanban board, and now I have a different view for all the finished projects, right? So can just keep changing between them. And if I need to go to some other part, I can go here, and you can see that the top menu then vanishes. So you can kind of create, like Banak said, that hierarchy and have like a really complex navigation of menus going on. So now we're going to create a dashboard here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just customize the icon as well, so it looks a little bit better. I'm just going to use the chart icon. There you go. And now we can add some indicators and charts here. So for example, I'm going to create an indicator for the total number of projects. So it's going to pull information from the projects table, and it's basically going to count the number of projects that I have. For the color, I'm going to use that color as standard for the entire app, and I'm going to save this. There you go. So I have 11 projects in total, right? So if I wanted to show only projects that are on planned or in progress, I can clone this block, for example. So it's basically the same block. It's pulling information from the same place, but now I can edit this. And now I can go with, for example, the planned projects. And now I can add a filter for, so it only shows projects which have stage equals to planned. And I'm also going to change the color. It's going to be a little bit brighter here. There you go. And I can do this for other parts as well, for other stages. So instead of planned, I have now, for example, in progress. And all I have to do is change the filter now. There you go. So just so you guys can see how it's looking
Just
like.
as a suggestion for this app, just to make it a little bit different than the apps that we usually rebuild. I see that some people they prefer to have the same color for the top bar as the background. So it's like two colors. The left is like white, and then the right is gray. Instead of like the top bar
which
would
part?
be like, yeah, the dashboard part there. Yeah. If this for the entire app, just as an example.
Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so you guys have total flexibility to build it just like you want it, right? So so this makes it look a little bit like things are hovering, right? And the other menu that I built makes things a little bit more like a standard app, right? So it's entirely up to you guys. And now we can keep building. So we have these indicators here. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller. And we could also have charts, right? So for example, I'm going to create a chart here for the number of projects per stage, right? So it's going to be a bar chart as well, and I'm going to pull information from projects, and I'm going to count. For the x-axis, right, it's the horizontal axis here. I'm going to use the stages. And for the y-axis, I'm just going to count the number of projects, right? So we're going to change the color here. There you go. And I'm going to remove the legend here. There you go. So we have here projects by stage, right? And now I can just, for example, duplicate this and do the same thing for priority, right? So I'm just going to edit this. And I'm going to do a chart of projects by priority. So I'm only going to change the x-axis, right? The horizontal part. Instead of seeing things by stage, I'm going to see things by priority. There you go. There you go. So we can later on just change the size of things. And we can keep reordering and adding components. We have tons of different components that we could add to the dashboard. We have calendars, we have different types of charts, we have indicators and complex indicators. We can, if we have more time, we can go create some other ones here. But the last thing that I want to do here is now use this part to add a Gantt chart. So I'm going to rename this to Gantt chart, and I'm going to change the icon. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove this form and remove the table here, the list. And what I'm going to do here is add a Gantt chart, which I can just search for, right? There you go. This is the Gantt chart. And for those familiar with it, it's unfamiliar with it, it's just like a way of seeing records, of seeing projects, of seeing things that have a duration, right? So they have a start date and they have an end date, and you can see these as bars in a kind of calendar setting, right? So this is going to be called projects. It's going to pull information from the projects table, and it's going to see that date range field that's pulling information from the start field and the end field. And we can also select a color to a field, a single option field, to add the colors to the bars, right? So this is optional, but for example, I may want to see the bars by priority. So I want to look at a project and see that, oh, it's a green bar, so it's a low priority project. So for example, I can do this. And we also have the side table. So what's the side table? Traditionally, the Gantt chart, it's just this part, right? It's just the bar of dates. But here in Jestor, you can basically have this side panel, this side table with information from the project, for example, the name, the stage, and for example, the owners, right? So this is basically what we're going to go with. There you go. So we're going to save this. There you go. So we have this Gantt chart here. For example, we have the projects here. We can change here. So instead of seeing by week, we can see by month, for example. So you can see how this is all planned out. And you can also create the bar or rearrange the bars by clicking and dragging here. So for example, this conduct user interviews, we can just click here and it created the bar, right? And we can extend the bar, we can rearrange the bar, we can drag it, and so on, right? So one thing that I like to do with the Gantt chart is reorder the bars by date, right? So they're not just like in this random spaces here. So I'm going to edit here, and I'm going to go with sort by
And make it tall, that's all.
start date. Yeah, yeah, of course. And the first dates are going to appear up top. Actually, it's the opposite. It's descending. There you go. So now I can see here they're ordered, right? And now, like Banak said, I'm just going to pull this here so it's getting most of my screen, right? So there you go. So now we have the Kanban board, right? So we can see the information from the cards here inside this. We have the chat, we have the tasks, we also have the SLA here, so we can see how much time the project spent in each stage. So we have all of these tools here as well. We can see the number of comments from the cover of the card. We can see the number of tasks from the cover of the card. We have conditional callers. So every project that I'm the owner of is going to have this different color here. We have filters. We have different views. So we have this table, for example, which is read-only and which has frozen columns. We have the dashboards. We have the Gantt charts and so on. We can keep building, keep building, keep building until this is like the usability and has all the features that we want. But for a basic version here of a project management tool, this is kind of what we had in mind. I don't know, Banak, if there's anything else that you want to show here.
No, that's great. Like we built a lot in 1 hour. And as Cruz said, you can customize this as you wish. We'll also make this available on the template store if you want to install and continue editing or building on top of everything that we did. And if you have any other requests regarding maybe adding another part to this specific app or maybe a different app, just comment or send us a request for live or something, and we will help you on how to do this or even show here on a live. So thank you guys and see you next week.
Do I?